One of the #1 questions that we get is how much does a van conversion cost, which is really hard to answer because everything that we do is completely custom to what the client wants. But we wanted to give you guys an idea of some of the expenses that go into a van conversion and give you an idea of ranges depending on exactly what you choose. Obviously, that's going to vary from van to van. There are ways to do it cheaper. There are ways to go all out and do it really expensive. So we wanted to give you guys kind of a breakdown of those major categories that go into a van. Now, one really quick thing to note with all of these figures is this actually does include the labor associated with every category, whether that's install, sanding, painting, all of that kind of stuff. So when you see these figures, remember that includes the time to actually complete these projects and install them in the van.
I know there's going to be somebody who's going to drop a comment down below that says that these prices are absolutely ridiculous and that you can build a van just for $5,000. And guess what? You can. It exists. It's possible. But again, it's about how comfortable do you want to be in your van? What sort of materials do you want to use? We use only the highest quality batteries, like a lithium battery from Battleborn that costs about $1,000 a piece. But we do that because it also doesn't put off toxic fumes like a lead acid battery does that you can get for about 75 bucks at, your local automotive store. So all the materials that we use are specifically engineered to go into our builds for specific reasons. So yes, you can build a van for $5,000. Shoot, you could probably just go around and pick up free wood at job sites and build a van for like $2,000. But it's all about, what do you really want to be living in? What do you want to manifest and create in your van? Do you want to live in a $200 van, a $2,000 van? Or are you looking for something a little bit higher quality that maybe down the road you could eventually resell and make a profit on?
One of the categories that can add up really quickly that a lot of people overlook and don't even think about are outside features. So this includes things like side ladders, back ladders, roof racks, front bumpers, back bumpers, tule boxes, you name it. This category can add up really quickly, but it's also a great category to add on to a van because if you want to mount solar on the roof, having a roof rack up there that you can easily mount solar to is a much better solution than using glue or screws into the top of a van. Not only that, but having things like a ladder, back bumpers, all of that kind of stuff is extra storage, easy access to the roof, and all that kind of stuff. So this category can range from $4,000 all the way up to $20,000.
Another pretty big category in our builds is going to be your electrical system. So this includes your battery, your inverter charger, your solar systems, everything that operates and powers everything within the van, including all of your cables and wiring. And so for that category, typically you're somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000.
Next up is windows. So a lot of the time people buy vans as just a cargo van. And if you plan on traveling and living in a van, then you're probably going to want to add windows. One of the best things is being able to open up the windows and see where you are outside and be able to kind of bring the outside in. So windows really do range. It depends on how many you want to add. We love adding the side door, the back doors, and maybe some in the back area for your bed area. So that can range from $2,000 to $4,000 with install.
Part of the van build that literally no one is going to see is going to be your insulation and your framing. And so for that category, by the time we put everything in the van and counting your materials, you're looking at somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000.
Next up is paint. Again, a category that people don't often think about. One of the things that we really like doing on these vans is truck bed lining the roof of the van before putting on a roof rack or any kind of solar up there so that you're not going to have any rust or damage later on that you can't actually access once the solar or the roof rack is on there. So this can range from $850 just for the truck bed liner all the way up to $6,000 for a custom paint job, which we have done before for clients painting the entire van. So obviously that is not that cheap.
If you've seen our builds, you know that we love to include bathrooms into our conversions. The ability to take a hot shower on the road is seriously one of my favorite things. But there's a lot of components that go into that system. Your hot water heater, all of the plumbing lines, your water pumps, your fresh water tanks, your gray water tanks. So for that category, you're looking at something between $6,000 and $10,000.
Next up is your kitchen. Now this does not include the cabinetry. I'm talking things like your fridge, your stove, your sink, all that kind of stuff is going to range you from $1,000 all the way up to $4,000. Again, depending on what kind of fridge and stove that you choose.
Climate control is another category that lots of people want to talk about. Obviously having a heater, your vent fan, and even trying to add an AC unit to your build. So for that category, you're looking at somewhere between $1,500 or $5,000, depending on how big of a climate control system you want to go with. A category where you do have lots of leeway, especially if you're doing your own build, is going to be in the cost of your cabinetry. I know lots of people that buy pre-made cabinetry, they cut it down to size and they install it in their van. For our builds, all of the cabinetry that we install is hand-built and custom-made and designed by us specifically for that van. That's why we're called custom crafted vans. Along with that, we only use the highest quality materials that are going to really stand up to the vibrations and the bumps along the road. So the overall cost for cabinetry in our builds is going to be somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000. When it comes to finishing your van, you have lots of choices for wall material, ceiling material, and even what you're going to put on your floor. That's going to run you somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 depending on the materials that you choose. We opt to choose the more expensive materials for weight reasons, for durability, and for mold and mildew control.
Last but not least is the miscellaneous category. This includes things like paint, stain, hardware, hinges, glue, screws, nails, all the stuff that goes into a van build that you don't really think about, and that ranges $5,000 all the way up to $10,000.
So if you've been following along at home and doing the math, you know that for our typical builds, we're looking at something between $40,000 and $89,500 for one of our custom crafted van conversions. Now that might seem like a lot, but think about that. That's all of your materials as well as the labor to finish your van build. And you're going to get it done in a much faster timeline than if you were going to try to do it yourself. Now, finishing the van is one of the most important aspects and something that we really take a lot of pride in. We've seen a lot of builds from other builders, from people who have done it DIY, and for us, we have a very high standard and quality for the overall finish of our van. Now, what that means is where joints are meeting, how we trim out the van, how we incorporate some of the curves to block parts of the van off where sometimes it's just an open space and you can see insulation in other builds. We really try and have the highest quality finish on all of our builds, and that's one of the reasons that material costs and labor costs are a little bit more, because each of those things takes a lot of time. For example, one of the trim pieces that we put up above the door panel where the sliding door meets the cockpit area, that's a very custom piece that we have to cut and scribe and sand and cut again. Some of those pieces can be a 5-hour process just in order to get one little trim piece finished.
So hopefully this helped give you a better idea of how much one of our van builds cost. Now again, this is a huge range, and one of the reasons why is because it's completely up to what you want. They can be done cheaper, they can be done more expensive, and they can be done a lot cheaper, again, if you go the DIY route. But if you have no experience, typically they aren't gonna come out like one of our van builds. If you wanna see more of the breakdown in each category, we actually have a blog post link below that will break out how much the batteries cost, how much the roof rack is, and all the different components that we kind of quickly mentioned in this video so that you can see how much of each category those things cost. So again, that's down below. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button if this was helpful for you to understand how much it costs to have a van professionally built. And again, there are thousands of hours that go into these vans because we do not cut corners, and we really are proud of our finish and our quality. So hopefully that helped you, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.